What do you think that will look like?
I'm back, bitches! I can't wait to get back to making videos. How did these get here? I don't want to talk about these. Quit your bitching and play them, for crying out loud. Who put you in charge? Are we really having this conversation? I'm you. Oh, right. Alright, this intro makes absolutely no sense at all. Let's just play some Cartoon Network games.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The origins of these games are pretty much the same as the Nickelodeon games that we covered last episode. The channel started out as Hanna-Barbera and became what we now know it as, Cartoon Network.
One thing led to another, and then video games. Kids love them. They also love cartoons. It made sense. Today, I present to you a culmination of 13 Cartoon Network games that we'll be taking a look at. Some of the games I don't actually own a physical copy of, but trust me, it's 13 games.
But before we do, allow me to just back up for a second. A few people commented on how the last video was very similar to Cat Icarus, and yeah, I can agree. You can tell what jokes were just shoehorned in to keep the viewers somewhat entertained. So this time, I'm gonna do things my way. I'm gonna give each game an hour or so of my time and review them based on the first impressions that I got. I will also be scoring these games once again, but keep in mind, these will solely be based on first impressions. If I ever return to any of these games to give them a fully fledged review, the score is subject to change. Now, I understand the Nickelodeon games don't have scores, so I will assign them now. Starting with 2 out of 10, this score will be assigned to Jimmy Neutron Attack of the Twonkies, Nicktoons Racing, and Nicktoons Unite. 3 out of 10 will be assigned to Jimmy Neutron Jet Fusion, Rugrats I Gotta Go Party, Nicktoons MLB, and Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. 4 out of 10 will be assigned to Rugrats Search for Reptar and Nickelodeon Kart Racers. 5 out of 10 will be assigned to Tak and the Power of Juju, Fairly Odd Parents Breaking the Rules and Shadow Showdown, and Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2. And finally, in a shocking turn of events, Tak 2 The Staff of Dreams will be assigned a 6 out of 10 score. A weak 6, but a 6 nonetheless.
Whew, I think I need a drink after all that. Hey, don't you have that Dubby stuff on your table? Hey, you're right! You're not just drinking that because they're sponsoring this video, are you? No, I actually like this stuff. And you will too.
Oh yeah, Dubby is entering the chat, providing the perfect formula to keep your reflexes in check. Give yourself the advantage you need by picking some up. If you haven't tried it yet, I would recommend the starter pack, as it includes 3 flavors in sample size and a shaker. Once you get that, go ahead and start ordering tubs of your favorite flavors. As you can see, I've become a huge Dub Sludge fan myself, so that's the one I recommend, because you can't go wrong with Granny Smith Apple and Secret Sauce.
I wonder what that secret sauce is.
They also have other delicious flavors available right now, including Dragonade, Galaxy Grenade, Peach and Beach, and Passion Joy Tea. The very brand spanking new caffeine-free flavor that Dubby just launched is called Monkey Madness. It's a perfect blend of strawberry and banana. Humanity's 2 favorite fruits. Dubby has helped me stay focused on recording the footage in today's video. If all of this sounds intriguing, then be sure to head on over to dubby.gg or click the first link in the description.
And you can score yourself a 10% discount at checkout if you use my code NITRO10. That's $10 off the 3-tub bundle. Now, who's gonna say no to that? Do take advantage of this deal and be sure to thank Dubby for sponsoring this video. And now let's play some Cartoon Network games.
Let's kick things off with the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy video game, released in 2006.
Wait a minute.
Yes, I've already talked about this game in depth back in 2017, but that was 5 years ago, and Christ, that review could really do with a makeover, so let's start here. The story sees everybody fighting each other thanks to being possessed by mojo balls freed from Grimm's trunk. So, with the character of your choice, you go through 5 different fights and defeat the boss at the end of the game. The gameplay is very similar to that of the Power Stone series, in that the fights take place in a 2.5D arena, with each location having 2 or 3 stages that mesh together based on a global timer. The knockout system is different in this game. Here, when a fighter is about to die, they lose the ability to move. You can then strike them to trigger a QTE, where you press 4 buttons in order of appearance. Hit all 4 correctly, and you knock them out. This game is also like Smash in that everybody has what this game calls a Mojo Meltdown. How does it work? Well, I'm glad you asked. Even though you didn't. There are Mojo balls scattered around the arena. Collect enough to fill up the bottom meter and you can take out one opponent. Fill it up twice and you can KO everybody with the Mojo Meltdown. Everybody has their own path to the end, so choose your favorite from the show if you want. Unless your favorite character is Mindy. Anyway, this game also has a mission mode. Complete missions to unlock more missions, as well as other goodies, including costumes, weapons, and a trailer for Ed and Eddy, the Misadventures.
All of this is sounding well and good. Until you get your first look at the models.
Oh my god, just look at some of these. Why does Mandy look so huge compared to Billy? I know I used to talk real highly about this game a long time ago, but I'm wiser now, and I don't like it as much anymore. This is a kid's game that shouldn't be played by the likes of me. Granted, I'm a fan of this cartoon, so naturally I bought this game, but that doesn't change anything. You don't need to watch any of the show to play this game. It helps, but it's not required. Overall, the Billy and Mandy game is only fun with friends for about 30 minutes or so, but you'll soon want to go back to Smash. For those reasons, I'm retracting my original 7 out of 10 score for this game. God, I was really stupid, wasn't I? And it will now receive a 3 out of 10.
But can you believe we're not done just yet, because I got this giant egg and it sounds like there's something in here, so I better be extremely careful with this.
Yay!
Billy and Mandy had a son?
Yes, folks. The game was ported to the Game Boy Advance. The story is the same as the console version, so enough wasting time. Let's get right into it. This game is a 2D side-scroller. It combines platforming and forced combat, my favorite. And here you can only select 3 characters, each following their own path to the Mojo Ball that they collect after defeating a boss. You start off with only Billy, so you need to beat his story and complete a few missions to unlock Mandy. Once Mandy is unlocked, you can complete her story and her missions, and when you collect 15 balls, you can unlock Grim. Then you can beat the rest of the game. The final mission sees you doing one last boss rush against all 3 of the game's bosses, General Scar, Jack, and Nurgle. Completing all of this grants you a slideshow of the game's concept art, which is a pretty satisfying reward, no doubt. Now, allow me to talk about this game's soundtrack. See, this version of the game was handled by a company called Full Fat, who you may know as the guys who ported the first 2 Pac-Man World games to the system. You would think that they would remix the soundtrack or make their own to accommodate for less powerful hardware, right?
Wrong!
They used the soundtrack from the console. Now, that may not sound too bad until you actually hear it.
Oh my god, it's like nails on a fucking chalkboard. You just want it to stop, but it won't. Thank God you have the option to turn the music off. It is impressive, but terrible. In conclusion, Billy and Mandy on the Game Boy Advance is just a reminder that you could be playing better games for this thing. A pleasant game to kill some time, at home or in the car, but you'll get bored pretty quickly. What more can I say? 2 out of 10.
Well, now that we have those out of the way, let's check out a couple games based on the Powerpuff Girls, starting with Chemical Extraction on the PS1.
Oh, hold up. CD playback?
Yeah, as it turns out, you can listen to this game's OST as a music CD. Very few games did that. It's Pretty neat.
I always found it confusing how it never lists track 1, but I think that's the automated warning message that would play if you put the disc in, say, a Sega Saturn. Alright, let's actually start the game. Well, for some reason, when you start the game up, the screen is not properly centered. I actually adjusted my RetroTink settings to correct this error, only to find out that you can do that within the game itself. Nicktoons Racing did the same thing. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So we start the game, and the show's intro has been recreated using the models in the game. Impressive for the time, but why not just use the original intro as an FMV? Anyway, we can select which girl we want to play the story mode as, and they each have their own progression. So for this video, I chose Buttercup. The story is presented to us like an episode from the show. Now, I love when tie-ins do this. The girls are baking a delicious pie made of sugar, spice, and everything nice, but they leave it on the windowsill, allowing Mojo Jojo to steal it and eat it with the Gangrene Gang. But why, you might ask? Well, Bubbles decided to add an extra ingredient to the delicacy.
Chemical X.
This gives anybody who eats the pie the same superpowers the girls have. So now it's clear why Mojo Jojo wanted the pie. Alright, stage 1.
This is a Power Stone clone.
Here you go one-on-one with enemies from the show, except for the rowdy rough boys apparently. You can attack your enemies with your standard method of pressing square, except most of the time you can't, because the game just stun locks you. And they like to pick up and throw objects at you, which are really fucking difficult to dodge. By holding the triangle button near an object, you can pick it up. Releasing it makes you throw the object. If you collect 3 Chemical X vials, you can use your superpower by pressing the R1 button. This game can get pretty tough on the easiest difficulty. For fuck's sake. The final battle with Mojo Jojo is nothing to write home about, except for the fact that he's cheap as fuck. I was honestly expecting him to jump in as the, by the way, I'm the real villain final boss, but no. Once you beat Mojo Jojo, the game is over. You can replay the story with the other 2 girls, and that's about it. If you wanted to play a 2.5D fighting game with your friends, you could definitely do worse. In the end, this game is really just for fans of the show who also happen to like fighters. The Powerpuff Girls Chemical Extraction gets a 3 out of 10. That may seem a bit harsh, but I think it's an accurate score. If you like this game, then all the power to you. But I don't.
Anyway, let's jump up a generation and take a look at the Powerpuff Girls Relish Rampage.
Starting up the game, and why is there no sound? This is only apparent in the FMVs, which is strange. Then I found out that this is a normal thing on Swiss, the homebrew software I use for my GameCube games. So I switched to Nintendo on my Wii, and that fixed the issue. I also couldn't play Billy and Mandy on Swiss either, so that game was played on my Wii as well. Guess the GameCube has been downgraded to being a Game Boy Advance. Well anyway, this game was developed by BAM! Entertainment, who also developed Chemical Extraction. And it seems they learned their lesson because the original opening is an FMV in this game. The story is the mayor is running for another term, but then Mojo Jojo decides to run, thanks to his subsonic headset that brainwashes everybody in Townsville, tricking them into voting for Mojo Jojo. How do the girls help the mayor with this? By delivering boxes of free pickles to all the voters' ballots. As far as the controls go, this game feels like you're slip-sliding all over the place. You never really feel completely in control. This is more or less just a more evolved, mission-based, story-driven version of Chemical Extraction. This time, you can switch between the 3 girls in-game with the push of a button, a la Sonic Heroes. While you're helping the mayor with the election, you're also tracking down and stopping the Gangrene Gang from spreading the word of Mojo. This all leads up to the fight against Mojo Jojo, then he is defeated. He loses the election thanks to the free pickles because that's what wins this town over apparently, and while he's melting down, he's shouting free pickles into his headset, causing that message to reach an alien pickle spaceship thing. They hear the message and they come to Earth to unleash a Relish Rampage. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Unfortunately, I lost interest and stopped playing. This first level just didn't do it for me. I could barely stomach half the shit I had to do. And no, it's not because I don't like pickles. But does this game deserve a 1 out of 10 and a slam to the ground with a hammer?
1 out of fucking 10!
No, I've played worse. The Powerpuff Girls Relish Rampage gets 3 out of 10.
I would have kept going if the game offered me something to keep me hooked, but that didn't happen, so I'm just gonna move on now. Let's shift gears and talk about Codename Kids Next Door, Operation Soda.
Alright, who's responsible for this then? Oh, hang on. Vicarious Visions? Now I'm interested. The story is that adults have established a drinking age for soda, meaning kids could no longer get a sugar rush from consuming it.
Well, it's a good thing there's no drinking age for Dubby.
So the kids next door set off on a quest to secretly deliver soda to kids in need. Each operative has their own operation to complete. Numbers 1 and 2 fly in the air using their weapons to take out the SCB troops. Numbers 3, 4, and 5 delivered the soda on foot. Each level has these bottle cans. If you collect 50 of them, you get an extra life. Collecting all of them in the level gives you a golden rainbow monkey trophy. Because this game doesn't have a proper save system, you instead use passwords to pick up where you left off. I'm not too pissed, it is a GBA game. However, games on the same console released before Operation Soda are able to save. Anyway, rainbow monkeys serve as checkpoints in this game. Your goal is to reach the end to deliver soda to the kids within the area. Control-wise, it's fine, I suppose. It's not anything to write home about, but I don't mind it. The K&D models look pretty good for a 2004 GBA game. The soundtrack is also good. VV didn't try to directly rip the show's OST into the game. They made their own, which I can appreciate. It sounds a bit like the Crash Bandicoot GBA music, which isn't surprising since those games were also developed by VV. When you get to the end of number 5's mission, the kids ended up being kidnapped along with numbers 2 and 4. The SCB hijacked the kids next door Stanka and sent the kidnapped kids to a place near Carbonation Island. We get a new set of missions for numbers 1, 3, and 5, so we'll definitely have to pick this up again at some point. Hats off, VV, you never cease to intrigue me. Based on what I played up to this point, I will be giving Codename Kids Next Door Operation Soda a 3 out of 10.
Don't let the score think that it's not worth your time. It definitely is. Being a fan of the source material is also a plus, like always. So if you are a K&D fan, this game is definitely a 5 out of 10 at most. Which may be a bit high for a GBA game, but I enjoyed my time and I look forward to finishing the story in the future. If I can remember the password. Now, let's get on a home console and take a quick dive into Kids Next Door Operation Video Game.
We begin the game at Sector V, the Kids Next Door treehouse. Number 1 is testing number 2's homemade VR headset when suddenly the Toilinator shows up. This first level helps you get familiar with the controls. This is a shooter mixed with platforming. So after learning how to play the game, we defeat the Toilinator and then throw him out the fucking window. We then find out that every villain has escaped from the K&D prison. And since Sector V didn't go on vacation, they are given the task of stopping them, starting with Grandma Stuff'em. Rainbow monkeys can be collected to unlock super triple top secrets. You can lock onto enemies by holding the L trigger. It's not really that reliable, which is a shame. We continue to make our way through the bakery factory until we finally confront Stuff'em. You pull this lever to drop a giant baked good, distracting Stuff'em's robot. Then you lower the platform it's on, making it unable to climb out. Finally, you jam its shields with donut jelly, shoot it, repeat.
It's just that all the toilets are clogged with...
Oh, gross. Number 4. What did I tell you about trying to keep it in the bowl?
There's this globy green stuff all over the treehouse. In fact...
Hang on, is that Abby's sister? Anyway, the common cold is intruding the treehouse, so Nigel sends number 5 to take care of it. And that's where I sign off. Honestly, I would like to keep going, but I need to move on. We have more games to cover, but before I do, let me briefly say that I enjoyed my time with this game. We'll definitely have to return to it at a later date, but for now, I'll give Codename Kids Next Door Operation Video Game a 4 out of 10.
Well, that was fun. Now, let's check out the only Ed, Edd and Eddy game ever made, the Misadventures. Get it? 'Cause they're all Ed?
Don't get mad, but I didn't really like this game. In fact, I think it's pretty shit. The story is just the Eds going around and doing their antics. Our first objective is to collect ice cubes in order to make snow cones. In this game, you can switch between the 3 Eds, who all have their own unique abilities. Ed can pick up and throw things, Double D can catapult pebbles at things, and Eddy can stun NPCs with stink bombs. I actually got stuck here because... reasons? The game is not letting me leave. I need to grab one more ice cube, but the game won't let me. I spent way too much time in here. Did Rolf lock us in? I actually had to use one of the piles of hay in order to glitch my way out the door. For those of you who don't know, I shouldn't have to do that. Anyway, we finally beat the first level, and that was really all I could stomach. Sorry folks, 3 out of 10. I just could not be bothered.
Is it the worst game ever? Obviously no. It's mediocre at best. I shouldn't be surprised, to be honest. Well anyway, let's move on from that and swoosh right in to Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase on the PS1.
This game is based on the straight-to-video movie, the one that a lot of people ended up loving. I happen to be in the minority that don't. Too many scenes that drone on, the actors sounding out of it most of the time, continuity errors, the virus only saying baseball puns and or laughing, Cyber Scooby cloning himself, characters patronizing the audience by flat out explaining what's going on. I could keep going. This movie was not good.
But we're not talking about that. We're looking at the game, and instead of the gang driving off to a school to check out a student's game based on Mystery Inc. only to get sucked into the game, they're just put into the game by, I assume, the Phantom virus.
The story doesn't explain how they got there. They're just there. The gang meet up inside the main hub area of the game, where Velma informs everybody that they were sent a message. Fred reads it, and Scooby and Shaggy try to sneak away, but Velma brings them back by offering them Scooby snacks, which reminds me that Shaggy eats dog treats. Starting the game in the warp room, Velma explains how to save the game, but it's hard to understand what she's saying because her audio got compressed to hell and back. Holy shit, what happened? The cutscene sounded just fine, but in-game, the voiceover sounds like shit. Talk about cutbacks. Our first level is
Japan.
We start the level and I take 2 steps and I'm given a tutorial. Everything you can do in this game gets explained as if this is the first game you ever played. And I get it, this game was made with kids in mind, that's fair. But at the very least, allow me to turn them off entirely. Whatever. Once we're past the wall of tutorials, we can get a good feel for how Scooby controls. He's pretty stiff. Movement is kind of unpredictable, the pie reticle is not accurate, sometimes the body slam doesn't work, and you're never sure how much momentum you actually have when you jump. It's hard to get used to. You can get a checkpoint by grabbing a dog tag, and the goal is to reach the box of Scooby snacks at the end in order to progress. Hey, just like the movie. The second level is more or less the same, only now you have to duck under spears. Ooh. On to level 3, which is a boss against one of the virus's creations. And oh yeah, the Phantom virus looks like this in the game. It's gross. Well, at least he's not talking about baseball.
You can try to get past this boss, but you will not succeed.
You finished?
So now we come face to face with this samurai warrior. I don't remember that from the movie. We dodge his attacks, then throw pie at him. Do this 2 more times, and the boss is defeated. What did the virus say about us not succeeding? Also, what the fuck is Scooby doing when he grabs the box? I know he's trying to dance around, but it just looks like he has problems. And that was it for me. I didn't get deep enough to see how Shaggy plays, or to see how bullshit the final boss is.
This game is what happens when you take the Crash trilogy and just blend it all together. You've got the stiff, unpredictable control from Crash 1, the warp room from Crash 2 and 3, and the different periods of time, and even the female protagonist standing by the load save screen from Crash 3. It's Scooby Bandicoot.
Unfortunately, it isn't as good as those games. Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase gets 4 out of 10. That might be a bit generous, but I didn't find the game to be that terrible. So while it is a weak 4, it is a 4, so at least it's got that going for it.
These next 2 games are the only ones that were released for this next show that I'll be briefly talking about, because the less said about it, the better. The show in question is Hi Hi Puffy AmiYumi.
This show's main characters were based on the J-rock duo Puffy AmiYumi. The show itself is one of the worst I have ever seen. The animation is poor, the writing is stale, the voice acting was subpar, and the music, while good, is mostly just Puffy AmiYumi songs, which makes sense. But at the same time, this makes episodes of the show damn near impossible to find online because of fucking copyright. Also, there's this scene where Ami and Yumi are doing a suggestive dance in skimpy outfits. How thirsty were these animators? Yet despite all this, the show rose to incredible heights in 2005, even to the point of getting a float in the Thanksgiving Day parade. No, I'm not making that shit up. And I find myself coming back every so often, in spite of everything I mentioned.
The best way I can describe my opinion is that Hi Hi Puffy AmiYumi is to me as Gaming in the Clinton Years is to Cat Icarus. This show is an absolute dumpster fire, and I genuinely love it for that. But we're not talking about the show itself. We're instead talking about the two games that were released to the public on the same day for Nintendo handhelds. Kaznapped on the Game Boy Advance, and the Genie and the Amp on Nintendo DS. Now the Kaznapped box is intriguing, and I'd like to check it out. However, I don't own a physical copy. But I know someone who does. It's an emergency!
What?
It's an emergency!
What is it? What
I
is
need
it?
to look at this box for Hi Hi Puffy AmiYumi Kaznapped on Game Boy Advance.
Why?
Because my girlfriend left me!
You don't have a girlfriend.
Exactly!
So the main reason why I wanted to see this box was because of the back. Look at this. Happy Fun Cartoon Rock Band Invasion. What the fuck does that even mean? Swaying on Ami's microphone. Do they want me to play the game or call the police? And check out this spine. Why is Ami sitting seductively like that, staring at me? Meanwhile, Yumi's looking at her like, yes, that looks like free real estate. This box just gives me a really conflicted feeling every time I look at it, so let's just get the game going.
I'm already bored. Can we play something else?
Why does it take so long? And why can't I skip it? Anyway, 10 years later, we can begin the game. The story is, Harmony, the band's #1 fan, hijacks the bus and decides to start a tour of her own. She traps Ami and Yumi and takes Kaz. Ami and Yumi's cats, Tekidai and Junkane, free them, and they set off to put a stop to Harmony's plans and rescue Kaz. We can choose who we want to start the level with, so I'm gonna go with Yumi. The level begins, and it's more or less a 2D platformer mixed with some puzzles you have to solve. Throughout your journey, you will encounter crazed fans and paparazzi. You can stun them by playing a rocking note that leaves them speechless. You can also pet the cats to replenish your health. They will also give you a 1-up if your health is full. You can switch characters by pressing the L button. Your goal is to make it to the amp speaker located at the end of every level. Once you collect it, you can move on. Most of these levels only last around 45 to 70 seconds, so it's a pretty short-lived experience, which is for the best. Anyway, when you advance to the next world, you first need to get through an aerial combat stage with a boss at the end. Why can't I just go to the next world? At any point in these stages, you can press L and R together to combine your powers and perform a supercharged jam session that wipes out everything on the screen and does quite a lot of damage to the boss. Also, what the fuck? A giant kid that can fly? Alright, on to the next world, which is more or less the same. Oh god, there's a bunch of bulls, and one's chasing me. Go, Yumi, go! Run away! Run away! Oh. That was it. Dude, I'm right here, doing nothing. Come on, do something! If you die, the game just kinda spawns you back where you left off. Oh yeah, you're being timed, just FYI. The soundtrack is alright. It's mostly just 8-bit versions of real Puffy AmiYumi songs, which is honestly better than what Full Fab would have done. No, Ami, don't do it! You got your whole life ahead of you!
So yeah, I don't like this game.
It certainly was a nice little distraction, but it's clear that this was nothing more than a love letter to the fans. And I can appreciate that.
That game wasn't too bad.
Swear-Eyed Jack already made that joke!
Now, before we talk about the DS title, I'd like to give a quick honorable mention to the Cartoon Network GBA Video Cartridges, since this is the last time we'll be covering a GBA game in this video.
These aren't anything special nowadays, but back in the 2000s, if you had a Game Boy Advance and you wanted to watch your favorite cartoons on the go, you wanted these. Especially when Dr. Eggman was promoting them.
Game Boy Advance Video! Now Game Boy Advance plays more than games. It's got TV shows too!
These things aren't compatible with the Game Boy Player, but thanks to GBI, a homebrew tool for the device, I was able to capture some of these. Don't expect anything spectacular though. These weren't meant to be displayed on HD TVs. They look great on a GBA screen though, as that was the intent. I've always wanted to watch Ed, Edd and Eddy on my Game Boy Advance. These were really cool, and you never had to worry about getting them scratched up until you can't watch them anymore, like the mini DVDs for the Video Now.
I used to own one of those. It was one of the older models that only displayed in black and white and needed an LCD shining on the screen because it wasn't backlit. Yeah, I was one of those kids. So now that we've talked about something really cool, let's talk about something that wasn't cool. Our next game on the menu, which is Hi Puffy AmiYumi,
The Genie and the Amp,
on the Nintendo DS. The power button's on this side.
Oh boy, here we go. The story is that Kaz wants Ami and Yumi to figure out why they're playing like shit. They stumble upon a magical genie named Gene, after Yumi kicked a speaker. Gene can grant them their wish to make the greatest rock ever, but first, they must pay a visit to My Pie. From there, My Pie gives them a tutorial on how to hone their guitar playing abilities. We start the game and... Yep. Touch controls. Wonderful. The game takes place in this pseudo 2.5D environment, where you can move in any direction, but the camera only scrolls across the screen. Take a few steps and we get into forced combat. We need to use our stylus to strum the guitar to make Ami and Yumi attack. Thank God the jumping was put on the L button. Money can be collected in this game by defeating enemies and breaking shit around you. Money can then be used to buy extra goodies and win prizes in these claw machines. The enemies are cheap as fuck. It doesn't help that you need to use the touchscreen to attack, which half the time doesn't fucking work properly. If both Ami and Yumi are defeated, you lose. Then you...
There were no checkpoints? I have to start all over? Nope, I've seen enough. Hi Puffy AmiYumi, the Genie and the Amp gets 1 out of fucking 10. This is it. This is the worst game in the entire catalog of games we'll be covering today. And ultimately, the show would be cancelled. Anyway, let's check out something that doesn't require touch controls. How about Cartoon Network Racing?
Hello everyone, my name is Henpo. Cartoon Network Racing brings in characters from the Powerpuff Girls, Courage the Cowardly Dog, I Am Weasel, Cow and Chicken, Dexter's Lab, and Johnny Bravo. This game is basically the same as Double Dash, except the controls are ass. These sparks make you think drifting gives you a boost, but like Nicktoons Racing, it doesn't. Instead, drifting fills up this meter on the bottom right. Once you fill it up, you can press either L2 or R2 to unleash your co-driver's Toon Power. They're just a speed boost. And just like Nicktoons Racing, only a 6-racer grid. And the game is hard as balls on the fucking easiest difficulty. What is it with these games designed for kids being incredibly difficult? I'm 24, so if I'm struggling to play this game, I'd hate to see how hard it is for a 7-year-old. I do like these track designs though. Each track is themed around one of the shows represented in this game. Back to the controls, god damn. You never feel in control of your drift. It kinda reminds me of Mario Kart 64. The drifting, combined with the rubber banding, made me restart a race. On fucking easy. Is it really hard or do I just suck? When you complete a Grand Prix, you unlock the next one, and you also get a clip of the show the Grand Prix is based on.
Hang on a minute. Am I seeing this correctly? It's actually a full episode of Courage and not a clip? That's even better!
As a kid, this is probably the reason you want to play this game. Being able to watch full episodes of my favorite cartoons on my PS2 as a reward for the time I invested? Awesome. But other than that, there's really no reason to play this game. Just stick with Double Dash. Cartoon Network Racing gets 3 out of 10. If it wasn't unnecessarily brutal on the easiest difficulty, like every other kid's game it seems, I would have given this game a 4. But sadly, it's just too goddamn hard, especially when the game expects you to know what you're doing right away.
That probably explains why the game is so fucking brutal. Actually, no, it shouldn't be. This game is terrible. So let's try to end this video with something better. Something actually worth playing. Well, we talked about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. We might as well tackle Cartoon Network's take on Super Smash Bros. With their 2011 release, Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion XL.
This game was co-developed by Crave Games and Studio. Let me just make a new name here, and that'll be Rogit. This game is Cartoon Network's version of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. The amount of characters, the classic mode, there are missions to complete that are like events, and even the game's story, which is heavily inspired by Subspace Emissary. The story is that Vilgax is traveling to and destroying other universes, so Ben goes on a quest to stop him, recruiting other characters along the way. The control in this game is fine, but at times, it can be flawed. For example, shielding. It does not exist. Every character feels kind of floaty, like they're hot air balloons. Anyway, first fight against Chowder. We beat him, waking him up from Vilgax's possession, and then we can play as him. This is how you unlock everybody else, with the exception of a few characters. Points can be earned after completing stages, which you can then use to purchase extra goodies such as concept art, the story cutscenes, characters, and clips from a variety of Cartoon Network shows. Also, why is there little to no voiceover in the in-game cutscenes? The only one who had their lines voiced over was the narrator. They must have run out of time or something. The classic mode in this game is called Arcade Mode. Each character actually has their own little story, which is pretty cool. This is just classic mode from Smash. You have a set path of challenges for each character, leading up to the last fight against him. Who the motherfuck thought having Billy and Mandy fight all 3 Powerpuff Girls at once was a good idea? Yep, this is fucking fair. This fucking shit took multiple attempts. Finally. And the last fight against him was piss easy, because of course it was. What else can I really say about this game? If you wanted to play a Smash clone that was exactly like Brawl in every shape and form, then this game is for you. Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion XL gets 5 out of 10.
Well, that's done. I'm exhausted. Are we done? Actually, no. What do you mean, no? You have forgotten one crucial game. It's the best one. I find that really hard to believe. Here, check it out. Fine, what is this then? Cartoon Network Battle Crashers. Get out. Okay.
God, one more game, guys. I promise I'll keep this brief, because let's be real, nobody likes this fucking thing. Yep, I definitely want to play this. Uncle Grandpa is driving around but falls asleep behind the wheel, which is fucking reckless. Somebody set his gear to break dimensions. What kind of fucking RV has that gear? He then proceeds to break multiple fabrics of the universe, and so we have to figure out why this happened. And stuff. Starting the adventure and... This is just Scott Pilgrim. You move around, shoot the baddies, and continue forward. Each character has their own specific ability that you can use. There are a total of 6 characters: Gumball, Steven Universe, Uncle Grandpa, Clarence, Mordecai and Rigby, and Finn and Jake. Yeah, everybody you see on this title screen? The only playable characters. Great. First boss in a scrapyard. Shoot, shoot, and shoot some more. That's it.
Yeah, I don't think I need to see anything more. Cartoon Network Battle Crashers gets 2 out of 10. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some unfinished business to take care of. Come on.
That is a touchdown!
Yes, let's fucking go! All right, 4th down. Come on, John, you can do this. Fuck yeah, stopped him. I just need to hold on to the ball. All right, come on. Nice, eat up that clock, let's go.
That is a touchdown!
And a touchdown to boot. Yeah, whatever, you can have that touchdown. I still win. Now, what is this? Why are you asking a question about something that has nothing to do with football? Oh, I don't know. C. How the fuck was I supposed to know that? Fuck you, NFL Blitz 20-03. Hey everyone, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much. And before we get on with the question, I just want to say thank you to everybody who sent me get well wishes while I was recovering from COVID. I truly appreciate it. You guys are real ones. I love you all so much. Thank you very, very much for those kind messages. I know this is kind of new for everybody and a bit weird, and in a lot of cases, you know, not something that you are really interested in. And you know, I can see that, because you know, this was something I kind of want to experiment with, you know, to see if it worked or not. I have a couple more of these in planned for the rest of the season, but trust me, they're not completely taking over the channel. These are not videos that are going to be, you know, my main focus. Well, obviously they're my main focus because, you know, they're part of the JuniorNitro show, but don't worry, the episodes like the Nickelodeon one and this one, they're not taking over the channel. I actually do have an old style JuniorNitro kind of video planned for the next episode, and in that episode I'm going to be taking a big look, I guess you could call it a retrospective, on an entire series. One dedicated series, all the games within it. I'm going to be going through and critiquing and reviewing and just, you know, going through it all in retrospective form, the entire series. And yeah, hopefully you're all excited for that. What will that series be? You'll have to wait to find out. But for now, let's answer a question, shall we? All right, so our question comes in from a good friend of mine named Flinny. He asks, a hero's tale when? Well, I'll say this. A hero's tale will happen when it happens. I don't have a specific timetable for that game, or any of the Spyro games for that matter. Hell, I don't have a timetable for really any of the games that I feature on the channel. They just happen when I have the free time, and yeah, whatever I'm most interested in at that particular moment is what I basically set my mind to. So who's to say? A hero's tale, whether or not it'll happen, will it, won't it? Only time will tell. So thank you, Flinny, for submitting your question, and if you guys got a question, be sure to post it in the comments section down below. And thank you all again for making it all the way to the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to share it around with your friends. And until next time, my name is JuniorNitro, fueling your adrenaline, one video at a time.